Welcome back, folks. You'll probably recognize Xander Caruso, a friend of the show today from Barton Springs Nursery, who we always call a plant pro. But today, he's also joined by Mazzy Lattery, who is on the design team at Barton Springs Nursery, here to talk a little bit more about what they can accomplish. Y'all, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Lovely to see you both. Xander, we get to hang out pretty often, but I always love when you bring a friend in.
Yes.
So let's talk, Mazzy, if we can, about y'all's philosophy when you talk about approaching landscape design.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really focus on making landscapes that are custom to suit personal lifestyles, something that feels just like it can inspire you to have a daily rhythm that's more outdoors. Mm-hmm. And so it could mean having your morning coffee or an evening glass of wine or time for play or just moments to reflect. So we really try to call that into everything that we do with all the plants we place in people's homes. And focus on education too. So you may learn a lot about plants you've never heard of and how that might connect to your personal styles or aesthetics, or maybe there's a scent you really love that we can inspire you to just have a better day. So
I
really
like that.
the heart of what we do.
And this is your focus. You went and got a degree in ecology of all things, and so plants are a big deal to you.
Yes, absolutely.
So asking a plant, we've got two plant pros really, is what we have here in the studio.
Yes.
I want to, if I can, Xander, pick your brain about encouraging that outdoor living.
Yeah,
piece.
absolutely. And I think our design team works really hard to make sure we're putting the right things in the right place. A lot of our native plants, they smell great. There's a lot of great smelling native plants, but also there's water conservation that also goes into it. So we want people to imagine landscapes that exist in Texas rather than a landscape that would exist in England or California or, you know, Michigan.
I'm not going to get the rhododendron bushes that I just saw in Maine a couple months ago that were, you know, the height of this ceiling. They were awesome, but yes. It's just not what Texas has to offer. So let's talk about your artistry in design, Mazzy, if we can. You kind of have what you call living, evolving spaces.
Yeah, so really it's such a fun creative art form. We do a lot of layering of colors and textures, focusing a lot on seasonality, making sure you're always having kind of like a picture to paint that is evolving over time. So you'll see different blooms coming in the spring and then the summer and then the fall. And that seasonal shift is a big piece of art that also kind of ties into the daily rhythms and just being able to engage in always step out and see something that surprises you or a new thing popping up doing its thing. So that's really big for us. And then also just kind of using like vignettes as a way to think about things, like framing things so that when you're walking through your space or sitting from your porch, you're always kind of looking at like a beautiful curated space rather than like just a couple things placed here and there. It's more of telling a story and weaving everything together.
Which takes experience to do. It's not something that most of us can just walk in off the street and be like, well, this is going to bloom through each season perfectly. So that's why talking to y'all is a really important part of what we're going to discuss here in a second. But if I can, let's touch on your ecology portion, just like the native adaptive plants. And so Xander, if you wouldn't mind starting us off there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things that we look through when looking at, I'll start with adapted plants. You know, there's things like crepe myrtles, you know. I love crepe myrtles. They're beautiful. We don't tend to use them in a lot of designs, but they do work well. But we'd prefer to go with something like a Texas persimmon that's native. It'll give you fruit, has beautiful bark in the same way.
Is crepe myrtle not
No.
native?
It's native to
I
Asia.
see so many of them, I assumed.
Yeah, and so there are plants that can work adapted, but we tend to go with something that's a little bit more native. And also, we know what works throughout the entire season. So if something's going to bloom in spring, but not the rest of the year, we give you something for the summer. And then we can give you something that only pops up in the fall. So you have this kind of ever-changing landscape. And there's plenty of native Texas plants that do that. We want people to feel like they're a part of Texas and not somewhere else in the world.
Right, and spending all that time and money and water and energy trying to keep something alive that probably isn't going to grow all that great.
Yes.
I'm guessing that you brought me a couple of good examples of something that would be great in a garden today.
Well, these are actually the potted plants. So for the house, which almost nothing from Texas can really be potted and put indoors. They love the heat too much, but a lot of these plants can exist either on a patio, like Candelia. That is a really beautiful little euphorbia. It's kind of waxy, kind of like a succulent.
But it's not prickly, so...
Not prickly,
yeah.
no. It's very, very nice, stately. We have a beautiful bottle tree. This is a little baby bottle tree. Really great. They work in all different kinds of spaces. We have a couple throughout the nursery ourselves. And then we have this lovely ring of fire philodendron. These come from rainforests all around the world, so they can exist in a house very easily or as a patio plant. But with most potted plants, I would say 95% of them, our winters are far too cold. So if you have any of these guys growing outside, you want to bring them inside in the winter.
This is fascinating. Okay, so for potted plants, the indoor stuff, that's the non-Texas stuff.
Pretty much.
All right, good to know. So speaking of pottery, if I can touch on that with you, Mazzy, let's talk about the types of pottery that y'all can offer for some of these gorgeous plants.
Yeah, pots are a great way to bring art into your space. We focus on a lot of handcrafted pottery from all over and use a lot of neutral tones that have different textures to really offer kind of a grounding in your space. So you can have, cool furniture and then something that's a little bit more just natural like this, letting the plant really shine and do its thing.
Yeah, you're selling me a little bit of vision here.
Yeah.
When I see these, I'm like, oh, the pot itself is gorgeous, and then the plant, it just sets it off. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Xander, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that something our design team will do is tell you what plants, especially for indoors, we take a look at if there's a vent here, what kind of lighting is actually coming through the house. Pull out the compass, see eastern versus western sun, or what kind of light is coming in. Does this house plant need a lot more light, or can it, hang out in a small corner with not a lot of light? We try to make sure people are getting the right plants for the right space. People think they don't have a green thumb. They just might not have the right plant.
It's possible I don't have the right plant. Okay, and just real quickly, Mazzy, before we let y'all go, it starts with having a conversation with y'all, right? And even if your space is small or if it's really big, you guys can still help.
Totally, yes. Even if it's just a small, weird corner in your backyard that you don't know what to do with, or you have 3 acres and you want to make a big transformation, we're happy to work at any scale and start at this because there's so many people at the nursery feeling overwhelmed. So happy to help in whatever service.
Design team can help, y'all. All right, check out the pros in person on Bee Caves Road, or online, bartonspringsnursery.com.